Hi students, welcome back to Fire Academy YouTube channel. Today we are going to talk about decimal numbers, lesson number 15 in your grade 8 book. So this lesson is divided to study under 4 stages. You can see multiply a whole number by a decimal number. So multiply a decimal number by a decimal number, then divide a whole number by a decimal number and divide a decimal number by a decimal number. So before talking about these 4 topics, let's look at the basics that we should know before starting the lesson. Right, so I have given here fraction to convert it into decimals. So you can see a fraction is given over here. So what's a fraction actually? So simply you should know fraction means we have a numerator and a denominator. So the top number is called as numerator and the bottom number is the denominator. Right, so this is a proper fraction. You know, proper fraction has a numerator and denominator. So the numerator value is less than the denominator's value in a proper fraction. Okay, so how can we divide this? How can we get a decimal answer? That's what your target is. So what you have to do is simply you need to do a long division as you have studied before. How can we do a long division? 3 divided by 25. So what can we do is, right, so I'm going to divide 3 by 25. So that number should be inside the division, and then I'm doing a division now, and divided by 25. So 25 should be written outside the division. So I'm dividing number 3 by 25. So always write the 3 inside because that's the numerator and the denominator should be in front. So when I check how many 25s are there for 3, there's no 25 for 3. So then you have to make it as 30. So when you make this as 30, when we add an extra 0, we have to make sure to keep a decimal point on top. So for 30, you know that there is 125. So 25 times 1 is 25. I just wrote it, and you have to do the subtraction and get the remainder as 5. So you get the remainder 5, and then what we can do is we can go further by adding a 0. So I'm taking that 0 near the 5, so it will become 50. For 50 there are two 25s. So simply by doing a long division you can get the answer for 3 divided by 25. It is 0.12. Right. So if you have 3 numbers, it is known as a mixed fraction. You can see this. It's a mixed fraction. So how can we convert a mixed fraction into a decimal number? Let's see. So what we have to do is the very first target is to convert this mixed number into an improper fraction. Right. So I'm writing this down just to make it clear. And the easiest way to convert this into an improper fraction is, what you have to do is always you have to multiply the denominator by the number in the middle and add the numerator to it. Okay, so the number under this should be multiplied by the number in the middle and you have to add the value of the numerator. So simply when I see 40 times 6 is 240 plus 33, it gives 273. So the answer for this is 273 over 40. You all know that the denominator won't change. So I just kept as it is. And in order to convert this into an improper fraction, what I did was I multiplied the number under this with the number in the middle and then added 33 to it. So simply you get the improper fraction. Now what you can do is, now we can do a long division. So simply as you do a long division in previous grades, you know that long division is easy. So you can do that same long division to get a proper answer. So let me do the long division here. So 273 divided by 40. So if it is to divide it by 40, what you can do is 40 means 4 times 10. First, you can divide this 273 by 10. So how can we divide it by 10? By moving a decimal place backwards. That means I'm moving the decimal point backwards once, right? So then you get the answer 27.3 divided by 4. So what I did was, to make it easy, I first divided by 10. I just divided it by 10, and then what I have done is I need to divide it by 4. So what I'm doing is 27.3. I'm going to divide it by 4. So you can see there are no 4s for this 2. Okay. So we have to check for 27. For 27, 4 times 5 is 20. Then 4 times 6 is 24. You have 4 times 6 for 27. So I'm getting the remainder down and taking these 3 down as well. But you can see a decimal point over here. So what I'm doing is I'm keeping a decimal on top as well to get the right answer. So now you have 33 below. You have to see how many 4s are there for the 33. So what can we take? 7 times 4 is 28. So what about 8 times 4? 8 times 4 gives you 32. So you have to take the closest answer here and make sure to learn the multiplication table. It's very important. It's like the heart of mathematics. So make sure to learn that, and 8 times 4 gives you 32. And you can check for the remainder. So remainder is 1. So we'll just keep the answer for 2 decimal places. Normally when you see the division is not ending, what you can do is you can keep the answer in 2 decimal places. So what I'm doing is I'm adding an extra 0, and since there is a decimal point here already given, I'm not putting another decimal point. So simply I can take the 0 down, and I'm checking how many 4s are there for 10. So there are 2 4s in 10. 4 times 2 is 8. Still there is a remainder, but I feel like 20 doesn't give a remainder. So I'm adding another 0 just to check the third decimal place. The value of the third decimal place, right? So we'll see how much we get. For 20, how many 4s are there? There are 5 4s. So yeah, it doesn't give a remainder and exactly give a decimal answer. So this is the answer for what? For this mixed number. So what's the answer over here? It should be, let me use the black pen to write it. So that's clear. It should be 6.825. So always do the workouts. The workouts which I have done here should be done on a separate paper. So without the workouts, I'm going to clear the workouts and show you how will the answer be on your question paper. In case if you get this question on your question paper, what you have to do is you just need to write only these stuffs, but not more than that. These are the workouts, right? So I'm clearing those. So simply what you can do is you can write down this answer over here. So what will be the answer? Now you all know the answer. What was the answer? Right, so the answer is 6.825. That's all you have to write on your paper, so you can do the workout on a separate paper. Right, let's move on to the next slide. So now you can see if you have numbers to divide by 10, 100, or you're getting to divide numbers with the powers of 100, like 10, 100,000, there's an easy way to do the division. No need to go for the long division. You just have to count the number of zeros, how many zeros are here, and then normally the number's decimal place is behind. So you can see number 3 is on top. So that decimal place is behind. Simply when they say to divide it by 10, you have to move that decimal point backwards once because there is only one zero, right? So the answer will be 0.3. What about this? First, you have to check how many zeros are there. If there are 2 zeros, you know 97 is on top now. And as I said, usually the number's decimal place is behind the number, at the end of the number. So decimal place is here. Simply, you can move that twice and then get the answer as 0.97. So always in a division, we go backwards. Right. So here what we did was we converted a fraction into a decimal. So I'll give you an extra question just to make sure that you understood everything. 875 divided by 1000. What do you think the answer would be? You know the decimal place is here. So you can see first you have to count how many zeros are there and you have to move 3 times backwards. So 0.875. We know the decimal place will be over here, but just to make it clear, we add a 0 in front. To show that the decimal place is there, we add a 0 in front always. Right, so if they have given a decimal number to convert into a fraction, what would you do? Now, the very first step is you have to write this decimal as a fraction, opposite of this. So when you see 1 point is here, I mean the decimal place has moved 1 point backwards, you should know that it has been divided by 10. You can see here the decimal place has been moved twice backwards. I mean the decimal point has been moved twice backwards. So then you should know that it has been divided. I mean number 25 has been divided by 100. Okay, so after writing this down as a fraction, you need to check whether you can simplify it. That will be the right fraction. So 7 divided by 10, we cannot simplify further because we don't have any common factors to cancel. But here 25 divided by 100 you can do. You can simplify some more because you know that if you cut 25 by 25, that means you have to see how many 25s are there within 25. There is only one. But you know 4 25s make 100. So you can simplify saying 4. There's only 125 here on top, but for 100 there are 4 25s. So then you get the answer 1 over 4. That's the right fraction for 0.25. Always we have to simplify and keep the answer. So then you get the full marks for your answer. Right, so here they have told if a number which is a power of 10, such as 10, 100,000 is divisible by denominator of the fraction, then that fraction can easily be written. So the easy technique was taught just few minutes back. I just told you what's the technique. So you need to check how many zeros are there and simply move the decimal point backwards. That's it. Right, so let's move on to the next screen. Okay, so here you can see they're asking you to multiply it by 10, 100,000. So multiply it by the powers of 10. You're using the powers of 10 to multiply those numbers, right? So then what you have to do is simply, when a division came before, what we did, we just moved the decimal point backwards. But in a multiplication, we need to move the we need to count how many zeros are there and move the decimal point forward. So you can see there is only 1 0. So you're moving one place forward. So the answer will be 38.7. Here you can see there are 2 zeros. So you need to move 2 times forward. I'm moving the decimal point 2 times forward. So the answer will be 408. Here you can see there are 3 zeros. So you need to move 3 times forward. So the answer will be 45.6. That's how you need to get an answer if you have to multiply a number by 10, 100 or 1000 by the power of tens. Right. So next one, you can see it's a division as we did before. Just a reminder. So 58 divided by 10. To make it easy, we can write in this way. So this division sign is represented by this line. Okay, 58 divided by 10. So here I'm writing 34 divided by 100, and this one 148. 148 divided by 1000. Okay. Now it's easy for you to move the decimal place. You know the decimal place is always in the corner of the number. Then you can move once. Why do you move once? Because you know there's only 1 0. Now I know that y'all know how to do it. It would be easy for y'all because y'all know the technique. How many zeros are there? Yes, I can see the messages are popping up. Yeah, 2 zeros, exactly. So 2 zeros means you have to move 2 times backwards, exactly. Right. And what about the third one? Third one, you can see, yeah, how many zeros are there? 3 zeros. So you have to move 3 times backwards. 0.148. So now you all know the technique, and the ones who have joined our Fire Academy YouTube channel can learn all the easy methods to study. And then if you would like, you can join our classes that we are following regularly. And then if you all have any questions, you can message me or email me or ask me anytime, or you can leave a comment under the comment section. So I'm ready to help always. Okay. Right. So what about this? Now we are initially, I just spoke about the 4 stages of the topics. So now we are currently under the first topic, multiplying a whole number by a decimal number. So here you can see it's not the power of tens to just simply move the decimal place forward or backwards. There are 2 numbers. So in this case, what you have to do is you have to forget about the decimal point and then multiply the numbers as usual. 803 multiplied by 5. Forget about the decimal. That's the first step. So when you multiply this, 5 times 3 is 15, and you take the one the other side. 5 times 0 is 0, so you can write that one here. 8 times 5 is 40. So you get the answer 4015. Right. So you just forget about the decimal and then you did it. Right. Now what you have to do is count how many decimal places are there. So you can see here there is 1 and 2. If there are 2 decimal places, the final answer should be kept with that 2 decimal places. So I'm moving 2 decimal places. I mean 2 decimal points backward. I just moved it backwards twice, and I have kept the answer as 40.15. So that will be the answer. So the very first step is to forget about the decimals, multiply as usual, then check how many decimal places are there, then keep the relevant decimal places to your answer. Right, so 194 multiplied by 12. you can do the same thing. So if you have two numbers, you know that first you should consider the number on the right and then multiply it. I'm considering only 2. 2 times 4 is 8. 2 times 9 is 18. Then 1. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 and 1, 3. Then after that, you have to consider the number on the left. So I'm not considering 2 at that time, just number 1. Okay. So 1 times 4 is 4. And make sure you have to, when you multiply, you need to write the answer below this one, not starting from the corner, below this one. So 1 times 4 is 4. 1 times 9 is 9. 1 times 1, 1. And I need to add all of these, 12. So you give 1 that side, and then 9 and 3, 12. 12 and 1, 13. And you get 2328. So you need to multiply it in a proper way, otherwise your answer will go wrong. Right, so once you get the answer over here, we need to check how many decimal places are there. So there's only one decimal place, and you need to, usually the decimal place is here, so we need to move backwards once because we had only one decimal place. That's it. So the answer will be 232.8. Right, so you can do the division, you can work it out. To check how much is 30 times 10.53. So what you can do is, 30. 30 means 3 into 10 into 10.53. So if you have to multiply by 10, you know that you can easily move the decimal place forward. So there's only 1 0, so I'm moving the decimal point once, right? Then you get the answer 105.3 times 3. Still we multiplied only by 10. So I'm multiplying it by 3. Now at this step, you can forget about the decimal. 1053. 1053 multiplied by 3. Do the multiplication first. 9, 15, 3. And once you get the answer, check how many decimal places are there. There is only one. So move the point once backwards. So your answer will be 315.9. Numbers separately, like 40.15, 20.237. So that's how we read numbers. I hope you understood this part. And let's move on to the next topic then. Okay, so just to clarify, to check if you all got a proper idea, let me take 23.57 times 22.7. Okay, if you get two numbers like this to multiply, what you should do? So I have told you always to forget about the decimal. So what will you have? 2357 times 227. So you can do that multiplication separately in a paper. You have to work it out. So then you get the answer 535039. I just work it out. So you'll be getting 535,039. This is what you get. So you have to check how many decimal places are there. There are two decimal places for this number, and there is one decimal place for this number. So all in total, you have to move 1, 2, 3, 3 decimal points backward and keep the answer as 535.039. Okay, so that's an additional sum for your knowledge. Right, okay, so the ones who have joined live can note down all the details. And the ones who are watching this video can take a separate notebook and note it down. If y'all have any doubts, y'all can comment me, so I'll be able to reply you back. Right, so let's move on to the second topic. So this is the second stage. if you have two decimal numbers to multiply, what will you do? So simply the technique that I told you, it's very easy. Use a rough paper to work it out. So 12 times 8, you need to forget about the decimals first and then multiply. So when you work out 12 times 8, you'll be getting 96, right? So I'll just do it here just to explain y'all. 8 times 2 is 16. So you get 1 over here. 8 times 1 is 8, 8 and 1, 9. So 96, and you need to check how many decimal places are there. So if there are 2, usually in a number the decimal place is here. I have told you it's in the corner, so you need to move 2 times backwards to get the answer, 0.96. So there won't be a decimal in the corner once you move it. So keep that in mind, and you can try the next one. What about the next one? Can you all try and drop me a message? Yeah, exactly. You all have got the idea. So 42 times 2, 8. I mean 42 into 28. That's how you have to multiply. So I'll do the workout over here for the ones who couldn't do it. Yes, 8 times 2 is 16 and 1 is the remainder. 8 times 4 is 32, 32 and 1, 33. 2 times 2 is 4. So I'm considering this 2 and multiplying now, right? 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 4 is 8. 6, 7, yeah, 11. So what would be the answer? 1176 would be the answer. So once you get the answer, you have to check for the decimal places. If there are two decimal places, yes, you move the decimal point backwards twice. Yes. So the answer is 11.76. Right. So the same way you can do the workout for the third one, 126. So 126 times 9. That's how you have to see. So when you do the workout, you can pause the video and try if you like. And when you do the workout, yes, the ones who did now can check with their answers. So 1134. How many decimal places are there? Yes, exactly 3. So then you get the answer as 1.134. I hope you all understood that part. So simply when you get two decimal numbers to multiply, the same technique that we followed over here, you just forget about the decimals, multiply, then check for how many decimal places and keep the answer as I told you. Right. So the next stage, I mean the third stage is dividing a whole number by a decimal number. So here we are not talking about multiplication. Here it's a division. So when you have the division sign in this way, it's better to write it as a fraction, right? So it will be easy for you. 7 divided by 0.28. Even this I'm writing as a fraction. Just I just put a line and then took the number to the bottom after the division sign. You can see a number is there. That is always the denominator, right? It's the denominator. Instead of this sign, I just put a line, the division line, and then 2, 8. Yes. After writing this down in this way, it will be easier for you all to find the last answer. So remember the important point that I teach you all now, right? When a denominator is having a decimal number, we cannot do a division, right? We cannot do a proper division. We might get confused. So the very first step is, if you have a decimal number for the denominator, the very first target is to take off the decimals of the denominator. So you can see the decimal is over here. I need to take it off to the corner. So what can you do to take it off to the corner? You can multiply it by 100. So in a fraction, you know that whatever we do to the denominator should be done to the numerator as well. So I'm multiplying numerator by 100. So whatever you do to the denominator should be done to the numerator also, because then you won't see the value changes in this fraction. We can't only do a thing to the denominator and then just leave the numerator as it is. The value of fraction might change. So whatever we do to the top should be, whatever we do to the bottom should be done to the top as well. So down you can see when we move the decimal, it will become 28. On top, 7 into 100 will become 700. So actually this fraction can be written in another way as this. Okay, so 700 divided by 28 is simply given in this way. Now you have two whole numbers for the numerator and denominator. So you can easily do a long division and check for the answer. Right, so when you divide 700 by 28, you can easily get the answer 25. You can try doing a long division. It's very easy. I'll just show you the first one. 700 divided by 28. You can see how many 28s are there for 70. Simply 2. So 28 times 2 is 56. You can multiply and check that. We can't take 28 times 3 because 28 times 3 gives 84. So it's more than 70. So you can do the subtraction now. Then you get 140. For 140 exactly, there are 5 28s. So then no remainder. And that's how I got 25 as the answer. I hope you understood this part. So here the same thing. We cannot keep a denominator as a decimal. So then I'm trying to move this decimal to the corner. So multiplying by 100, same thing should be done to the numerator also. So 1100 divided by 44. You can do the division and check. What would you get then? You would be getting the answer 25 for this as well. You can try. And here, yeah, the same thing. I need to move the decimal. I can't keep the decimal and solve this sum. So multiply by 100. So the same thing should be done to the numerator. So when I multiply it, I will have 328 as the denominator. On top, the answer would be 8200. So then now I can find the final answer by doing a division. So then what will you get is 25. Right. So yeah, they give nice answers. You have 25 for all three. You can try it out. Right, so the next stage is the final stage, dividing a decimal number by another decimal number. If you have two decimal numbers to divide, what would you do? So last time we had a whole number on top and a decimal number at the bottom as the denominator. So then we followed this step. So in case if you have two decimal numbers, a decimal number on top and decimal number at the bottom, what would you do? That is what we are going to talk about, right? So you can see here 0.8 is given. I'm writing as a fraction to make it easy. Even here you can see 16.8 divided by 0.07, 194.3 divided by 6.7. So I just wrote these down to make it easier. So in this, what you have to do under this topic is, in this stage, we use the same concept which we used before. We cannot keep a denominator as a decimal number and then come towards the last answer. It's hard for us. So simply we should make the denominator as a whole number. We should make the denominator a whole number, right? So I'm multiplying it by 10 to move the decimal. Same thing I'm doing to the top. It doesn't matter where the decimal goes on the top. You just need to consider the denominator. Right, so 16 over, when you move this, you will have 8 on top. Right, and then when you do the division and see, you would be getting a decimal answer, so which is 0.5. Now you know how to do it. Here you can see I need to move 2 decimal places when I consider the denominator. So your target is to multiply the denominator by 100, and the same thing should be done on top. Just don't think that there's only one decimal point on top, I mean decimal place on top, so I need to multiply only by 10. No, you first have to consider the denominator. So if there are 2 points to go forward for the denominator, the same thing should be done for the numerator as well. So I just multiplied by 100, so you will have 7 as a whole number down, and on top 1, 2. You need to go twice. So 1680 would be your answer. Right. Now you can do the normal division, I mean the long division, then you will be getting the answer 240. Right. And then over here, yes, the same thing. We need to convert the denominator as a whole number. So yes, the same thing should be done on top. Then you'll be getting 67 and on top 1943. 1943 should be divided by 67. Then you'll be getting the answer as 29. Yes, these are the answers. So I hope you all understood the things that I taught you. So those are the 4 stages under grade 8 actually. I hope you all understood. If you all have any doubts, you can message me. Yeah. Okay, so I hope no doubts, right? Good. Now what we have to do here is I just picked 2 difficult sums. Difficult in a sense, it's easy, but you need to know some more details to do these sums. So I just picked those 2 to explain how can you start this sum. Right. Now you can see a subtraction sign and a multiplication sign over here. So what will you do first? You have to decide it. So you all have learned the BODMAS rule. According to that concept, what would you do first? Always you should do the multiplication first. When you do the subtraction, your answer will go wrong. So the same thing over here. If you have 2 decimal numbers to multiply, forget about the decimal places. 9 into 3 is 27. And see how many places are there. How many decimal places? 1, 2, 3, 4. All in total, it's 4. So you need to move. Usually the decimal will be here in a whole number. So 1, 2, 3, 4. The decimal should be here. So to fill up the gaps, I'm just putting 2 zeros, and to clearly show the decimal point, I'm putting a 0 in front. Right. So then you get the answer as 0.0027. And make sure to write the number in front. Otherwise you will forget it. Still the sum is not over. You have to bring this down. Then once you bring this down, now it's a subtraction. So in order to do a subtraction, make sure to keep the decimal point all along a line. It should be one under another. The decimal point can't go here and there. So I'm keeping the decimal point over here and then writing down the numbers two side of the decimal point. So 0 is here, and I can see there are 4 digits after the decimal point. 0027. So since I don't have numbers here, I can put zeros because I need to do a subtraction. I'm doing the subtraction now. So 0 minus 7 is not possible. So you need to take 1 out of this 9. So 9 will give 1 for this 0. And again, you need to take 1 for this 0. So 10 minus 7 is 3. Since you already took 1 out of this 10, this will become 9 now. So 9 minus 2 is 7. So 9 already gave 1. It will become 8, 0, 0. So the final answer of this would be 0.0873. So you can do the workout in a separate paper. So this can be done in a separate paper at the exam. So I'm erasing this. Okay. This you can do in a separate paper. And what you can do is you need to write this as the answer at the exam. That's it. Okay. So let's move on to the next one. If you have a sum like this, you can see there's a bracket. So under Bodmer's rule, you need to solve the bracket first. Inside the bracket, there's a subtraction. So there is a subtraction 1.0, 0.7. You can do the subtraction, then you get 0.3. You need to do all the workouts in a separate paper at the exam. So now you have 0.3 times squared. Okay, so what's the meaning of this squared? Squared means you have that number to multiply twice. 0.3 times 0.3. So I'll just erase this workout since it should be done in a separate paper. Right, so you have 0.3 to multiply twice. That's the meaning of squared, right? Yeah, that's the meaning of squared. So what you need to do is now you can multiply. 3 times 3 is 9. Simply like I told you, if you see decimal numbers, forget about the decimal places. Then keep the number. You can see 2 decimal places are there. So move that twice backwards. Yeah. So then you get the answer 0.09. That will be the last answer. So I hope you understood this part as well. And if you all come across any doubts, please you all can ask me, message me, or you can ask by sending an email. I hope all of you all understood. And if you do need some more lessons, please do subscribe. You can subscribe or join our group classes and individual classes which we have allocated. And I hope it would be useful for you all. And if you all have any lessons that you need to watch a video and learn, you can directly message me. So if I'm having some extra time, I would be happy to post those to learn for y'all and give more ideas. And thank you so much for watching the video. I hope it was useful, and see you again with another video.